Middle and high school teachers face huge challenges in helping students learn science. Many students have already given up on themselves and given up on school. Also, there's a huge gap between what's taught by lectures, textbook readings, and recipe-like labs, and what's needed to understand the kinds of complex phenomena that we see in the real world and study in science fair projects. As a result, higher-order thinking skills like sophisticated inquiry and experimental design, which are key capabilities for 21st century work and citizenship, are very difficult to teach using conventional instructional methods. We've designed a multi-user virtual environment, intermediate in complexity between the real world and the scripted lab, that's very engaging for students, that aids them in learning complex higher-order skills like hypothesis formation and collaboration, and that provides national standards content in biology, ecology, epidemiology, earth science, and history. Kids see an interface that looks much like the games they use for entertainment. They and a small team of their friends go back in time to a virtual place called River City. This digital environment, set in the late 19th century, has a lot of problems. Students' mission is much like the movie Back to the Future. They can use their 21st century knowledge to help people fight infectious diseases about 130 years ago.
Yeah, and most people think that some computer games is hard, like especially when you're getting graded for it, that they be hard. This one was kind of easy, but it was challenging and easy at the same time.
To begin, learners become avatars, graphical representations of themselves inside of the River City virtual environment.
Hello and welcome to River City. I'm glad you could join me today for this tour. Students can walk, run, swim, even fly in River City. They can enter buildings, climb mountains, and swim through virtual bodies of water. Also, as they explore the city, they can click on objects that contain hyperlinks. And clicking on these objects will trigger the appearance of web pages or images, simulations, web-based applications, all of which appear in a web browser embedded in the software. The River City curriculum has students collaborating to investigate a virtual town with a river and different forms of terrain, houses, industries, and institutions like a hospital and a library. In exploring River City, students work in teams to develop hypotheses about several illnesses that are sweeping the town.
What's new? The air is so moist in the springtime, and I can hear the bugs buzzing again. I missed that noise all winter long. Thanks. You're welcome.
At the end of the project, the students' teams compare their research with other teams and discover this complex web of competing and viable hypotheses about what's happening in the town.
And my hypothesis was that the fall and winter weather will make the other people sick by changing. So, and then that was like my hypothesis.
The complexity of the environment is engaging for students and gives them the opportunity to learn skills such as hypothesis formation and experimental design. Unlike a CAN lab, they get to design their experiment around a problem that they themselves have identified.
My partners was supposed to be taking out the trash because we think that the trash in the water is probably getting people sick. When we go in the river and stuff, and there's trash around it, we can hear bugs. So we kind of think that it's the bugs too. So every time that there's more trash, that the trash will attract bugs to come.
We find that students are engaged in part because they enjoy the challenge of working on their own rather than being told what to do.
When we had to pick our problem, what we thought was the problem in River City, and finding different things to connect with it.
And it was challenging how, like she said, like when we had to pick our problem and you had to go find everybody and you had to think where they would be because they had clues for you.
And you had to test everything and visit different people, go to the houses, and it was difficult because you had to do everything like this in one class period and that in another.
We find that students' identities are shaped in positive ways towards engagement and efficacy in science.
It's a real help for people who want to grow up and be a scientist, but then they really, get an idea of how they going to do it when they grow up.
River City is designed around collaboration to prepare students for 21st century work.
It was easier because usually we got one brand, but now we got 2 or 3. So we can say, look, you go to this place, I go to this place, you go to that place, and then we come back together at the end and share the information.
There are multiple causal factors for why the residents in River City have fallen ill, and students recognize this, and they realize that there's not just one solution to why people are getting sick.
The closer you got to the bugs, there was more bugs, and you would get bit, and then you would get a fever.
Like Mrs. Pimbansky, whatever her name was, came from this
country. She came from a different country, and she brought a cough, and everybody started getting cough because she was a cook and she would cough on their food.
And the rain washing the manure to
the river.
And the sewage, the pipe was going into the river. It was just
all the garbage is going, they would go into the water, and people would take a shower with that. They would drink it, and they would be drinking all that bacteria and washing themselves with all that bacteria and stuff.
Our research documents some fascinating case studies about underperforming students who have given up on learning science, but who come alive and succeed at learning through the interactive medium of River City. All students are learning in River City, but we find the gap between the high-performing and low-performing students narrows, which is very exciting. In addition to these qualitative findings, we have a variety of quantitative research findings.
River City has been implemented nationwide with thousands of students. The students come from urban schools, rural schools, and suburban schools. To determine if River City has been successful based on our research questions, we analyze various sources of data. The data comes from pre and post surveys, focus groups, interviews with students. One very unique piece of the data that we have is a database that underlies the project. This database records all students' utterances, their behaviors, and their movements when they're in River City. One of our major questions that we discussed earlier is whether River City can help level the playing field for students with poor academic histories. We're actually seeing some indications that actually might be so. This graph is showing the outcomes on our post-test content test for students who did very poorly on the pre-test. And it's comparing one River City treatment to the control treatment. And what we're seeing is that on average, the River City students did significantly better and learned more than the students on the control curriculum. Please notice how the River City treatment allowed all students to grow equally regardless of their past academic histories, whereas in the control curriculum, that is not the case. Students' performance was different based on their prior academic histories. This graph shows the typical results we are seeing in analyzing our pre- and post-affective survey. We have created 3 different variants of River City, one based on guided social constructivism, one based on expert modeling and coaching, and the third one is based on a form of situated learning called legitimate peripheral participation, as outlined by Lave and Wanger. What we're seeing in this graph is the effect on students' outcome in self-efficacy in scientific inquiry. The students who are in the River City treatment outperform the students in the control curriculum across all levels of entering levels of self-efficacy in scientific inquiry. We also analyzed the letters to the mayor that students wrote for evidence of their learning about scientific inquiry and about disease transmission. The evidence we saw there was much more dramatic than we saw with our pre- and post surveys. River City letters tended to be longer, showed more evidence of engagement, and students seemed to be more likely to recognize the complexity of the problems in River City. You are looking at a letter written by a 7th grade student who is barely passing 7th grade science. Her teacher has very low expectations of her success in the project. This letter, as you can see, has a clearly outlined hypothesis with detailed evidence supporting that hypothesis, and she even recognizes the complexity of the problems in River City that her solution only partially helped. In summary, River City seemed to help students unravel a complex web of problems. Students whose first language was not English found success in the project, as well as students who had poor reading skills. While girls and boys tended to approach the problem solving in different ways, they both found success in doing so.
Like when I was little, I used to take stuff out the cabinet and try to mix it, see what happened. But I get whooped for that, trying to mix stuff. So now I can do it without getting a whooping. I thought I was gonna get an F or something because I thought it was gonna be boring at first. But as I got into it, it got interesting, and I became a mad scientist.
Our design insights and research findings from River City are helping us to understand the strengths and limits of multi-user virtual environments as a vehicle for learning. Based on our results thus far, we're excited about how MOVEs can provide immersive, engaging simulations that complement lectures, textbooks, labs, and field trips as part of an effective science curriculum. We're also delighted that MOVEs provide a means of narrowing the achievement gap among different kinds of students, helping underperforming learners to feel motivated and successful. We see ways of generalizing MOVEs for use in history and social studies, the arts and humanities. Using this interactive medium provides a powerful way of linking education in school to the communication, entertainment, and informal learning kids do outside of school with various interactive media. We plan to continue our ongoing research across a variety of media on how virtual interactions can help real kids.